Hello everyone and welcome back to my yearly movie ranking. If you didn't watch the last one, basically I just go over all the movies I watched this year that came out in 2024, obviously, otherwise we'd be ranking like 100 movies, and I'll just talk about them. And this is unscripted, so sorry if I fuck up more than usual. Also, this is kind of like not only movies, there's one TV show in it because I was like, why not? I've only watched one 2024 TV show this year since I kind of got a little obsessed with One Piece and basically only watched that. So yeah, other than that, I might also add on in the end Squid Game Season 2 because I'm almost finished with it, but I really needed to record this before time ran out. I want to get this out January 1st, so hopefully it comes out January 1st. If not, then oh well. So the first movie on here is Venom: The Last Dance. I was kind of hyped for this movie, I'm not gonna lie. I loved the first two Venom movies, not because they're good movies, just because they're a lot of fun. I was so hyped for this movie, and it was kind of mid. It was just like Eddie and Venom going on a road trip across the country, and I didn't find most of the characters they ran into interesting. This movie did kind of redeem itself in the end, not because the action was really good, just because of, if you've seen the movie, you know, the memories montage scene. I watched it and I was laughing the entire time just because it came out of nowhere and it was just hilarious. And also, this is probably going to be the last Venom movie, and they just teased like the big bad, and so I'm just like, man, it feels like I got conned. So the next movie is Queer, starring Daniel Craig. It's made by the same guy who made Challengers and Call Me by Your Name. Now, I did not watch Challengers this year. I did watch Call Me by Your Name this year, and I loved it. And I thought this was just going to be another romance movie like that, but it wasn't. It was really weird. And I get why people like it. I do. I put it in the mid category. I was just kind of bored the entire time. Daniel Craig is amazing. All the acting is amazing in this movie, but I just couldn't really care about the main two. But then there's the last third where it just goes batshit insane, and I kind of loved it. It was weird, but I don't know. I like they did something different. The next movie is Cuckoo. And it's a horror movie, and I'm sorry, I thought it was pretty bad. I know a lot of people like this movie, but it was just kind of confusing and not really scary. Some of the ideas were cool. The acting is really good, but I just couldn't care less. I don't know. I don't have much to say about Cuckoo. I was just kind of bored the entire time. Gladiator II, I would definitely put in a bad category. I watched the first Gladiator a day before watching this, and when watching this, I realize something. This is the exact same movie as the first one, like legitimately almost beat for beat. I think the last 30 minutes it finally like becomes its own thing, but I couldn't care less because I just watched 2 hours of the same movie, which I just spent 3 hours the other day watching. Kong versus Godzilla, the New World, or whatever the hell it is called. I don't really care. It's just bad. People say it's just a dumb fun movie, but this movie was boring as hell. The human characters were boring as hell. The monster fights, I couldn't give less of a shit about. There was nothing really interesting happening at all. The human characters were just so bland. It looked pretty, but for me, don't care what the movie looks like. If it has a good story and good characters, I will like the movie. If it's a boring movie that looks pretty, I just do not give a shit about it. Moana 2, I'm actually on the opposite side of most people. I thought this movie was just kind of okay. I didn't think it was horrendous. I think there's a lot of pacing issues. I think it was very stupid to separate Moana and Maui for like the first half of the movie, because that's what made the first movie so good, was their dynamic. But like, I don't know, I had fun. The songs were fine. I don't like how they didn't have an actual main villain show up until the post-credit scene. That was kind of stupid. Joker 2, right there in the bad category. It was a jukebox musical, and I hated all the musical numbers just because they were all in Joker's head for some reason. And then they made this movie a courtroom drama for some reason, but it's just really poorly made. I mean, it looks good. It looks good. I'll give the movie that. The script was really bad, especially since I really loved the first Joker movie. I heard they were going to make this movie a jukebox musical, and I was all in for it. But then they just kind of fucked it up and didn't do much. Lady Gaga was hardly in it. She was fine. I really do like Lady Gaga, but she really didn't add much to this. There's really nothing of value with this movie. It was kind of like so insanely bad that I actually started enjoying it by the end, but that's why it's not in the really bad category. The thing that pisses me off the most about this movie is the ending, just because it feels like a slap in the face to fans of the original. No spoilers, but it's legitimately awful. Kung Fu Panda 4? Yeah, no, I think it's a really bad movie. I was hopeful for this movie since I do love the first two movies, and I think the third movie is pretty good. It had, like, no reason to be made. Chameleon, the villain, was awful. Like, especially since Kung Fu Panda is known for their really good villains with, like, Tai Lung, the peacock guy. He's probably my favorite one. And then J.K. Simmons. That's all I know his name. Them just having a really bad villain brings down the story. Awkwafina's just so annoying. I'm sorry. I know. I'm in the majority with this, but I think Awkwafina is just so annoying. And now her being the dragon warrior, it's just like, I don't want to watch another 2 movies with her and Poe. And Poe felt like over the first 3 movies, he matured quite a bit, but this just feels like he's kind of reverted back to his old self, and I didn't like it. Also, why did he have to retire as the dragon warrior? It makes no sense. He's not even that old. One thing I did like was Lee and Mr. Ping's subplot, but it also didn't go on for too long, so boo. Finally, a good movie with look back. I don't even know if I would consider this a movie because it's only like 59 minutes long. Yeah, it's amazing. The 2 main characters, they don't spend that much time together. You feel like you've known them for so long. I say out of all the movies I watched this year, this is definitely the one that you should watch, especially since it's only an hour long. I don't want to spoil it because I think you should go into this movie blind like I did, but it made me cry quite a bit. Now here's the only TV show, unless if I add Squid Game season 2, which was Baby Reindeer, which was a Netflix show that came out this year, and my god, it was so captivating. I watched it in one day. Honestly, an amazing show, and if I rewatched it, it'd probably be in masterpiece tier, but I'm still gonna keep it down in amazing until I rewatch it. I think this is one of the best acted pieces of media I watched this year. The actress for Martha is amazing. She was amazing in her role. Richard Gadd as Donnie he was amazing. And the most like tragic part about this show is that everything really happened to this guy, Donnie, and it's actually just so tragic. From episode 1, it captured my interest and just had a chokehold on me for the rest of the series. And it's only 7 episodes. It's very short. After I finished it, I felt so conflicted because Martha, not the best person, obviously. She's really bad, but also you feel bad for her, but you don't at the same time. It's so conflicting. You just have to watch this one to understand. Next up is Furiosa. I love the Mad Max movies, but I didn't see this one in theaters because I saw the trailers and it didn't look like I would enjoy it, but my god, I should have saw it in theaters because it was amazing. The action is great. It's so good. It's high energy. Chris Hemsworth as Dementus, he was amazing. At first, I wasn't on board with Anna Taylor-Joy playing Furiosa, but she's really good in the role. I might upset people with this take, but I think this movie is better than Fury Road. I know. The one downside with this movie is that it doesn't look the best during some scenes. There are some really, really bad looking shots. Like I said before during the Kong versus Godzilla, I would take bad looking movie, but have like amazing story, amazing action, all that stuff anytime than a good looking movie with no sauce. Problemista, technically this movie came out last year, but also it got released in theaters during this year, so I'm going to count it as a this year release. If you haven't watched this movie, I say you should because it's honestly amazing. The amount of creativity in this is just astounding. I also just really don't want to spoil this movie. This is definitely just a movie you need to watch yourself. Also, I realized I should probably write some notes for this because I feel like I'm saying the same thing for most movies, but hey, that's a next year thing. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a very interesting movie to me because I didn't watch the first 2 movies, but seeing the trailer for 3 got me so excited for it for no reason. I'm not even a Sonic fan. I think I played the very first Sonic game that ever came out. But this movie just seemed so much fun and it was going to be so good. And so I watched the first 2 movies. They're kind of ass, not going to lie. Sonic's kind of annoying. This movie was just actually good though. Jim Carrey as both Eggman and his grandpa was amazing. I loved the dance scene with the lasers. If you've seen the movie, you know. I think the CGI on all the characters has definitely improved like tenfold since the first one because Shadow looks amazing in this. They all look amazing in this. I love that Sonic actually has a character arc in this and doesn't just stay static. The ending what happens with Eggman is actually amazing. The thing that happens to Gerald is actually hilarious. Next up is Anora, and I'd say it was pretty great. This has to be the funniest movie I saw this year. It was a riot. I'm not gonna lie, the first 45 minutes didn't really wow me, but once Anora is separated from her husband, it's a riot. His rich family trying to find him with Anora, while also them wanting Anora to divorce him, it's so comedically funny. Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely the funniest movie I saw this year. Next up is ISS, which was the first 2024 movie I watched, and it was mid. The concept of following the crew members of the International Space Station while America and Russia get into a war down on Earth, so forcing them to fight each other, is a great concept. This movie could have just used way better writing. It was just kind of boring and bland. I don't know. They didn't do much interesting with it. They just kind of do not much with it, and I don't really have much to say because I don't even remember much from the movie. Next up is Smile 2, and I was hyped for this movie. I think the first one is a great horror movie, and this one was mid. I know a lot of people love this movie too. It didn't do much to really warrant being a sequel. I do like how it follows the Smile disease getting to this pop singer from the last movie. It's great. But the main complaint I have with this movie is something I have with a lot of horror movies, and it is when the main character is just kind of stupid. You might have watched it and thought she wasn't that stupid, but there's just one thing that really pissed me off is like some crazy thing would happen and she just stare. Like, she wouldn't try and run or anything. She just stare, just gawk at it. And like, it makes sense for the first like 2 or 3 encounters with these random things. But after the 5th, 6th time, she should have just bolted. Like, it might have not done something, but it would have made sense. And I remember this one scene, she does start running, and it's great. She starts running, they start chasing her, and then she just randomly stops, and they randomly stop, and I hate that type of thing in horror. The scares were fine. I really loved the creature design at the very end of the movie. It's so cool. The Smile creature is one of the best modern designs for a horror movie. I guess monster. Yeah, there we go. Monster. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I was just kind of sitting there waiting for the twist where it's like, oh, it was all in her head this entire time. And that happened. Next up is Monkey Man, and it was a fun time. I don't have much to talk about with this one. The action was good. The acting was good. I think this movie's biggest fault was how long it was. I felt like it didn't need that much setup, and it just kept dragging on in certain areas. So if they would have cut this movie down a bit, I think it would have been up in the good territory then. Ooh, this movie looks great. The next movie is Trap, and I did not expect to like this movie as much as I did. It's pretty good. I went into Trap without knowing anything except it being directed by M. Night Shyamalan. I feel like with M. Night Shyamalan, a lot of his movies are either a hit or a miss. There's really no in between. I love Unbreakable, I love Split, I hate Glass, but this one was just a fun time for the most part. When they were trapped in the concert hall, I think it was great. I think the suspense was great. The comedy that usually doesn't work with M. Night Shyamalan movies was fantastic in this one. I laughed quite a bit. I like how they flipped the script on this one, where when you hear the movie Trap and you hear it's about a serial killer, you're thinking that he trapped all these people in here. But no, he's the one that's getting trapped in this concert hall. It's a great idea. But once they get out of the concert hall, it just keeps going and going, and I was just wondering when it was going to end. And also, the serial killer just like escapes like 7 times at the very end. He's just like in police custody. Oh no, he's out. Oh, he's trapped here. Oh no, he's out now too. It got a bit tedious and kind of comedic by the end. The next movie is Orion in the Dark, and at first, when I first watched this, it was in great tier. But now I'm going to move it down to okay tier because I legitimately cannot remember many things about this movie. Orion and Dark, they were good characters. I really like Dark's design. Yeah, that's really it. The one thing I hated about this movie is that it was actually Orion telling a story to his daughter, but then his daughter travels back in time to help Orion, and it just got so complicated and so stupid and that's really the only thing I can remember, so I'm putting it down in okay tier now. I still go watch it. It's on Netflix. It was a fun time. The more I think about it, the more I actually can't really think about it because I forgot most of it. The Wild Robot was one of my most anticipated movies of the year and thought it was pretty great. The animation is just spectacular. It looks so beautiful, especially when the forest is on fire. It just looks immaculate. The animals talking didn't bother me much because they were really well written characters. There's one thing I think is really stupid in here. It's where like all the animals agree not to eat each other, and I'm just like, how do they survive? It's only during the winter, but like, how do they survive? Like, what food are they getting? I also like, for a kids movie, it got really dark, especially how the main plot is kicked off. It's really dark, and I kind of love it. And the humor in this movie is great for the most part. There are some cringeworthy lines, but other than that, it definitely made up for Kung Fu Panda 4 sucking so hard. Longlegs? I love Nicolas Cage. If you watched my last year's ranking, you know one of my most anticipated movies was Dream Scenario starring Nick Cage. And if you go back to the third video on my channel, I'm pretty sure it's a review on The Unbreakable Weight of Massive Talent, which I'm not telling you to go watch that video right now because it's a really bad video. But I just love Nicolas Cage, and him as a killer. I think Nicolas Cage deserves an Oscar nom for Best Supporting Actor for this role. He was absolutely fantastic. Creepy and weird and somewhat darkly funny. He was just like the whole package. I loved him in this movie. The mystery in this movie was really intriguing to me, and it held my attention quite well. I did feel like the ending was a bit of a cop-out, but I still enjoyed it. Now, do I believe this is one of the scariest movies ever made, like everyone was saying on Twitter? Hell no. There's definitely scarier movies here, but it still was a bit creepy, and I liked it quite a bit. Dee Dee is the most relatable movie I watched this year, and it was great. This movie has great cringe humor where you're just like cringing but also just laughing your ass off. I relate a lot to the main character. When I was younger, I would lie about the stupidest shit that didn't even matter, and the main character does the same exact thing here. And when it starts to backfire on him, you just feel so bad for him, but he also did it for himself. I'm a huge sucker for coming of age movies, and this was just a great time. I really loved the mom character, but I wish they focused more on her. Same with the sister character. I really loved her relationship with the main character, and I just wanted to see more of it. It was a very interesting dynamic. Next up is Inside Out 2. Yep. I thought it was pretty great. I really don't want to talk about this one much because you've probably already seen this movie. It's the #1 highest grossing animated film of all time, which is actually kind of insane. I didn't think the first film was that popular. The new emotions were fun. The new set pieces were fun. I really love how they gave the spotlight to fear, anger, and disgust in this movie. Since the last movie, it was really just sadness and joy. Even though I do really miss Bill Hader as Fear. Next up is A Real Pain. Another great one. This movie can be so goddamn funny and then flip the coin and just be so tragic. I loved watching these two dysfunctional cousins with their tour group. It was a fun ass time. But I also cried. It got really sad. Kieran Culkin deserves an Oscar. I'm gonna say that right now. He better get an Oscar. Next up is Kinds of Kindness, and I think it was quite amazing. This movie is nearly 3 hours long, which I usually don't like really long movies, but when it ended, I wanted more. This movie is an anthology of 3 separate stories, and each one is starring the same actors like Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, and Willem Dafoe, which is already a key to my heart with 2 of my favorite actors in there and one of my favorite actresses. If I had to rank the stories, I definitely think the first one is the best, the third one is the second best, and the second one's the third best, but they're all fantastic. Next up is Thelma, and it was pretty great. It's kind of a parody of an action movie, but starring like a really old person, which you might be thinking, that sounds like the jokes would get stale. And at some points, the jokes do kind of get a little stale, but then you're just brought right back into the film. This movie's hilarious. It's such a fun time. The main duo is amazing and work off each other really well. And what I was not expecting was a deeply emotional story about wanting to feel useful. It made me tear up quite a bit. I'm not kidding when I say this movie has one of the most tense scenes of the year, and it's when Thelma just falls down. It's so fucking scary, but so good. I love Thelma the character, and I think June Squibb should win an Oscar for her role. Even though I'm pretty sure she won't because this movie didn't do too well, and not many people know about it. Next up is Madam Webb, and yeah, guess what? It was really bad. No shit, I don't know why I went to go see this. Me and a friend went to go see it. We went to go see it in an IMAX opening weekend. Number 1, I hate the IMAX. And number 2, it was opening weekend and there was only 2 other people in the IMAX theater. The acting is horrendous. It looks awful and just so bland. The story is confusing and just, I don't know. It wasn't even a type of movie where I started laughing because of how bad it was. I was just sitting there, staring at the screen blankly, wishing for it to be over and wishing I never saw it. Next up is Wicked, and I was kind of dreading watching this one. I don't know. Just the thought of a 3-hour long movie, of a like 2.5 hour long musical, but also only being part one just kind of made me not want to go watch it, but no, it was great. I think the whole situation surrounding it is really annoying with people singing in theaters, and I think the main two actresses crying almost constantly is very annoying, but other than that, I had a great time with the movie. The songs are great, the acting's fantastic, the choreography is really good. The movie was a bit bright at some points, like I was actually kind of getting blinded, but other than that, the movie looked fine. I know I'm gonna sound like a loser, but that final musical number did make me tear up. I don't even know why. I just think the actress they got for Alphabet just has such a great voice. Hey, look, it's a dumb fun movie. That's actually dumb fun. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. This was a good time in theaters. I'm not the biggest fan of the first one, but this one, it was funny, it was short, it was just a good time. I don't have much more to say about it. But this is a dumb fun movie. Godzilla vs. Kong isn't. I know I'm harping on that, but I'm just sorry. No. I saw the TV Glow. Yeah, I say it was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I probably don't understand this movie very much. It's a very surreal watch. You feel like you're constantly just, I don't even know how to describe watching this movie. It's a very experimental and weird movie, and I kind of love that they did that. It made me deeply uncomfortable too, some scenes. People say this isn't a horror movie, but I don't know. I was just so uncomfortable in some scenes. It's just like, I don't know, it did something to my brain that I just couldn't comprehend. I'd say if I rewatched it, I'll probably like it better, but for now, it's gonna stay in the good tier. And guess what? I finished Squid Game Season 2. I didn't add it to the list because then I have to make a whole new tier list, but if I did add it somewhere, it'd be great. Honestly, I was surprised by how good it was. I was hyped for this TV show. I think the first season of Squid Game is amazing. I hate that it got caught up with the brain rot culture, but I still think the first season's amazing. My biggest hope for the second season is that they could create more characters that I could care about that just didn't feel like characters from the first season, and they did it. My favorites are definitely the mom and the son. Their dynamic is amazing, and there's one scene in this show where the son's a gambler and he votes to stay in the game. And there's this one scene where he's being dragged away from his mother when he thinks she's going to die, and it's actually just devastating that knowing that his gambling addiction almost got his mother killed. And the scene when they reunite and he's just crying, oh my god, it's great. Honestly, that whole group right there is great. The way the main character gets back into the game is good. I'll just say that. And his dynamic with player number 1 is great, even though you know who player 1 is and you know that he can turn at any second. It's a great dynamic, and how the season ends just pisses me off because there's just a huge cliffhanger and it's midway through the game. So it's like, I know it's going to be a big payoff next season, and it's the last season, and it's only coming out, and it's coming out next year, so hopefully it comes out soon. I also felt like the detective side plot was just kind of like hardly there, and I wish they did a little bit more with it, but I'm pretty sure they're going to do more with it next season, obviously. So yeah, that was 2024 media ranked. Before you go, I just want to say thank you for supporting my videos this year. I know I kind of stopped uploading for a while and I only really got 6 videos out, but you guys still supported me, and right now I'm on like, I think 4,996 like 3 days before New Year's, so I'm gonna get to 5,000 hopefully before New Year's. I'm planning on hopefully releasing 2 videos a month, so let's just hope I don't abandon that and stop uploading for another 8 months like I did last year. Thank you for a great 2024, and here's for 2025. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.